Craig, Margaret Cain QC fought a big case in which Lister was found not guilty, and she made a statement about how we live in a time where people are encouraged and told how brave they are doing this to help others, and this will save others. She likened it to going on some type of crusade, which sort of seems similar as to what you've experienced.
Absolutely. And, you know, Michael, a good friend of ours, early days when all of this stuff erupted, got in touch to say, hey, listen, a friend of mine's just got in touch with me. He's received an email from, and I won't mention the publishing house. Hey, have you ever worked with Craig McLachlan? We want to hear any stories you have, but we don't want to hear any good ones. So think about it. You've basically been handed a license to go for gold, and it's just wrong.
Today we're going to look at complainant known as C1. Despite the fact that you were acquitted on all charges in relation to C1, the crusade to muddy your name and reputation has continued to this day.
It has.
How do you feel about that? Every day?
Honestly, it's difficult to find the words. It has been relentless, and it ramps up and becomes really ugly in those moments where it appears to the general public that I may be taking a step toward rehabilitating my life and career. It's awful, and frankly, it's evil.
It's terrible for them, isn't it, to see you trying to, getting back out of this black hole that you found yourself in. It's almost like they just don't want to see you get up.
That's exactly right.
C1 posted comments about Channel 7 and slammed them for putting you on SAS Australia. When you did that, was that cathartic in a way, doing something like that, getting back on the screen?
Yes, it was. There was some trepidation and a little anxiety, not least because I'd be left in the hands of Middleton and his military mates for God knows how many days and nights in the middle of the Jordanian desert. But just stepping back into the public arena, when your trust has been obliterated, it's a very difficult thing to get your head around. But it was cathartic, and it was an experience. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this because it's taken 2 years for the aches and pains in my hips and joints to subside. It was well worth doing, and it was an opportunity for me to say, you know, under those intense circumstances, that just by the way, acquitted, not guilty.
But did you know while you were doing that, people were going to, throw some pot shots at you?
I absolutely knew. I don't think I was ever aware of just how coordinated the efforts would be. Not being social media savvy, I was never aware, Michael, of just how easy it is to coordinate, literally, an army of loyal devotees and or zealots to, attack.
It's practically like a military operation, just like it was on SAS.
Exactly.
The bizarre thing is that C1, she wants to get on with her life, but she doesn't want to allow you to get on with yours.
Well, it seems I can move forward at a level that's sort of somewhere down here, at least professionally. But if it looks like I'm going to step out at a level up here professionally, and who knows, maybe get back on track to where my happy, productive, inclusive life once was, that's when the coordinated attacks happen.
She even chimed into the Cluedo debacle when Queenie van der Sant There's a name I had to actually Google who she was. Started an online campaign to get you removed, like a coordinated effort.
Yes, it was a very coordinated attack. I don't know who Queenie van der Zandt is either, quite frankly, though she claims to know me, she doesn't. And that was brutal, particularly when the attack includes actors who happily signed up to do the job with me. Queenie, forgive me, I forget her name, Queenie, claimed that the two actors who were named with me knew nothing of it. That's a lie. The producer, John Frost, and others involved with the production sat down and assured me that these two actors knew and they were very excited. I don't have my mobile phone here, but you'll see the text messages and so on exchanged between me and the director months before an announcement was made. In fact, he texted me only yesterday.
Give me the lowdown on C1. You worked with her on Grease way back in 2005.
2005. A rebooted version of the original Grease Arena Spectacular, which I did in 1998, having completed a successful run of Grease in London. And probably the oldest Danny Zuko at that point. And it was a huge success and a lot of fun.
Yeah, and look, she in an interview she spoke about being an extrovert way back then, and then changed her mind to being an introvert. Then in 2014, you both cast in the Rocky Horror Show. Did she change from the early days when you first met her to 2014?
The short answer is no, but just to touch on the notion of her being an introvert, I can tell you this, she was anything but an introvert. She was probably the most outrageous person I'd encountered at that point in my career. This is 2005. 2014, certainly nothing had changed.
There was also a sliding doors moment where there was a time when she could have been sacked from the Rocky Horror Show and wasn't. Do you ever think about that?
All the time. All the time.
What do you think about with that? What could have happened?
Well, none of this would have happened. I'm absolutely convinced of that.
Why did she nearly get sacked?
Well, if the director was here and you could ask him, he would tell you she treated him appallingly. And this is only a week or 10 days into the rehearsal period, which is at the end of 2013. You know, it speaks volumes when a director comes and has coffee and lunch with the leading man and his partner, and you get the sense that he's itching to talk to you about something, and eventually he opens up and says, look, I've put a call into London, I think I need to remove her from the company. She's rude, she has very set ideas of what she wants to do, she's not collaborative, and I think she's going to be a disruptive influence in the company. There were no ifs or buts, this was going to happen. I said, no, she'll be okay. You know, she'll be okay, she'll settle down, I'll keep my eye on her. You know, give her a shot. The director listened to me and he went, okay, well, I'll get back on the blower to London and we'll see how things settle. But it was that close.
Certainly not a good start when you've already got a troublemaker in rehearsals. She was off a lot of the time in 2014 on the tour. Yes. Due to back problems. I find that incredible that years later, she actually blamed you for the back problems. How does that work?
Just like a twisted Vegas magician, I was able to make all those girls hate each other without actually doing anything. Similarly, I had the magic power to give people physical injuries. I mean, it's ludicrous. And particularly when she would speak to me and Vanessa, and in fact, the Rocky Horror touring company management about her back issues at the commencement of the tour. So we were aware that there's some pre-existing thing.
There's text messages, isn't there, about the last day on the Rocky Horror Show. She texted you wondering what happened on the last day, that you didn't talk to her. Can you explain what happened there?
Anyone in theatre will tell you that the last day of any tour, post-final performance, you're in your dressing room. If you haven't started packing up already, you've got a finite time to get packed up, get your stuff out, get out of the theatre. The crew are going to be bumping out the set and so on. In my case, I've got producers, investors, the choreographer and partner, just a list of people. While I'm trying to pack the makeup away, they're all coming in. I think it speaks more to her that she felt slighted that I didn't interrupt what I had to do to get out of the theatre, to go and do the rounds and speak to everybody. This notion that there was something wrong on the last night, I don't know. But it's so not the case. Like everyone else, I had to pack up and get out and deal with all these other people.
So let me get this right. She never mentioned or said anything whatsoever about anything relating to assault, harassment or bullying to you?
Never.
Or anything where she was unhappy or upset in any way?
Never.
Did she ever make a complaint to producers or management regarding Erica Haynat's?
Well, yes. Yes, she did, very early on in the tour.
What was that about, do you know?
I do know. We had just completed the first stage of the tour. We opened in Brisbane, and then we moved on, we rolled on to Perth. And we were all excited to get to Perth. I hear this commotion from my dressing room the day that we've bumped in and, you know, we're sorting our stuff out, costumes and what have you. I didn't think too much of it because there's a lot of noise going on in the back of the theatre, as you can imagine. Sets are being erected and so on. Soon after, the company manager comes to me. No, in fact, it was the executive producer, I beg your pardon. She came to me first. And apparently, had exploded in her office, complaining vehemently that she felt that Haynat's had been given a superior dressing room.
Well, that's enough to blow up, isn't it?
Well, shocking, isn't it?
When did you realise for sure that it was C1 who made the allegations? Because the women remained, you know, anonymous until the story was published, wasn't it?
That's right, and that is the moment I knew definitively who they were.
After Rocky Horror, you ended up working with C1 again on the show The Wrong Girl.
And action.
Selamat pagi. Welcome. Welcome to the Breakfast Bar and happy Sunday, folks. First off the bat this morning, I wanted to address some feedback we received yesterday. Just go back. You can't laugh at Selamat pagi.
Back to ones.
Back to ones.
You shocked me.
I did, didn't I?
I wasn't ready for that.
Selamat pagi.
You say selamat pagi boo and I say selamat pagi pak.
Will you?
I will if you do. It's Globber and Bumpkin. It's Globber and Bumpkin.
I tell you what, you both looked like you got on like a house on fire there. And this was about 2 years after she alleges you assaulted her. That timeline doesn't add up.
No, we look very comfortable with each other, don't we? And we were. In fact, would say to me regularly, and mention it to Vanessa, in situ, in person and via text, that she was having the best time of her life. This wasn't just the most fun job. No. I am having the best time of my life. And we had such a laugh.
But at that time, no mention of any type of drama from the 2014 Rocky Horror Tour.
While we were shooting Wrong Girl?
Yeah.
No, nothing. Only invites to go and have burgers with her at a place called 5 Stack or 6 Stack or something.
You're good friends with her continues. But unbeknownst to you, she posts a tweet about having experienced a hashtag #MeToo moment back in October 2017, which the press latches onto. You remember that moment vividly, wouldn't you?
I don't remember seeing it at the time, the day it was posted, but by God, I was made aware of it pretty soon after. The day that it was posted, I think, was the day the new cast of the 2017-18 Rocky Horror Show was announced. So,
Without her in it?
Without her in it.
So she, or other accusers, aren't in the cast?
That's right. As you know, I think we've discussed in previous chats, some auditioned, some had their representatives reach out and say, hey, we're up for this, knowing there was no secret in the industry that I was back doing it. Hadn't been invited back, not even to re-audition for 2015, and she certainly wasn't being invited back for 2017-18. Again, not my doing. But on the day that it was publicly announced, once all the auditions had happened and you could put faces to the names of the characters and so on, suddenly this tweet appears.
Around this time, she calls castmates, ones she had bullied and had strained relationships with, and they all get together. It's like she's putting the posse together.
Yep.
Craig, you were charged with partially tracing down the join of C1's labia whilst performing in the bed scene during the 2014 Rocky Horror Show. You denied these accusations.
You bet I did.
So what would you have done if you accidentally brushed her in that scene? It's a tight set. Tell me about the set.
If we imagine we've got a crazy partying Rocky Horror audience in front of us, the bed set isn't much wider than this space where you and I are sitting, a little wider. The set design is the bed's on its end, so the bed head's up here. So us standing in position, and there are pillows fixed behind us. So from the audience perspective, it's a very comical way of being a fly on the wall above the bed and looking down. But there had to be enough separation because there's a little manhole between the two pillows, the left and right hand side of the bed. There's a little manhole there with a curtain so that we can get in and out.
Yep.
And so that crew members or a crew member can pass props in.
So if she...
So I'm sorry, me explaining the bed, I didn't answer your question. Could you accidentally touch each other countless times at the end of this scene where Janet encroaches on Frank because now she's lustily wanting him, and we drop out of sight of the audience, my legs are spread and Janet kind of disappears down in between my legs. Michael, if I'd accidentally touched her, believe me, you've seen footage of us goofing around, she would have let me know.
Yeah. And I mean, let's be clear. So you were never made aware of any such thing occurring?
Never. Not on the night, not the following night, not the following year, Not for the 2 years working on Wrong Girl. Never.
In court, you gave evidence, and others supported it, that or C1 gave you wedgies, pulled your pants down, flicked you in the testicles with a towel. Just on that, would that have been deemed as sexual assault to you?
That's a great question. At the time, going back to our previous chats about backstage culture in the theatre, probably not the case anymore, but back then, and certainly with this particular group of people, this ensemble of people, cracking gags and pranks the way they did, the way we all did I think at the time that a quick goose or a wedge, no, I didn't think it was assault. Did I think they were trying to crack onto me? No, I did not. I understood that within the parameters, the behavioural parameters of this group on this show, what they were doing to me was kind of commonplace.
It's incredible, isn't it, that years later you get charged with bogus allegations, yet stuff that I just mentioned in front of others was totally okay though.
Totally okay at the time. If someone had said, hey Michael, you goosed me a bit hard right before my line and I forgot my line, can you not do that? You'd just go, yeah, sure. I remember having to tell a guy, let's call him Chris, that's not his real name, who used to goose me every night while I'm sitting on his lap in a wheelchair. I had to pull him aside one night, as did the narrator I discovered recently, because his goosing got a little robust. And I had to say, hey mate, you're gonna have to ease off the throttle in the goosing department. So the relationships and friendships were such that you could say, if you felt uncomfortable with something, or if you found that something wasn't funny, this was here's an expression I'm going to use for the first time. This was a safe place. This was a safe environment. We all liked each other, at least I thought we all did. You could say, hey, can you not do that? I'm not comfortable with this.
So there's no doubt that or C1 was part of this backstage culture.
Oh my God. There's a great moment from someone who I can speak about, but I won't mention. This wasn't in closed court. But this individual said, you know, she went to extraordinary lengths to try and be the most shocking joker of all the jokers in the cast. So, you know, she was well and truly part of it.
Talking about shocking jokes or more like disgusting jokes, let's talk about who, this was something that C1 used to, you know, do and send pictures of as a joke, her own poo. So even after all this evidence, the magistrate described her as wicked, if not a little playful. If I was the magistrate, it'd be more like twisted, if not a little deranged.
Well, yes.
Let's talk about the details of the charge. The Rocky Horror Show bed scene. Give me a rundown of that actual scene itself.
Well, we talked about the bed set earlier, and it's like we're looking down on a bed. There's a pillow there, there's a pillow this side. The characters basically use those pillows to sell to the audience that we're lying in a bed. There are a couple of moments where Frank does disappear from view of the audience doing silly sound effects and what have you. And it's just a back and forward in this space with Frank coming to Janet and then ultimately Janet surprising Frank by coming to him and dragging him under the covers.
So her claims were that during the bed scene, you'd kissed her on the neck and arm, and then you dropped down and kiss her on the breasts and stomach all the way down. And then on one night, when her hands were directed to sit on the covers of the bed set that was directed, you disappeared under, and then she felt a touch over her costume, that you were facing her and you were crouched down in front of her. And she felt that she was trapped in the scene and she had to swipe your hand away. Was that the case?
No.
So back in 2017, she gave an interview to the ABC and this is how it played out.
This is the scene you're talking about.
Yeah.
And what did it involve?
We would come in, as if we were laying in the bed together, and then he would duck down. This is, virginal Janet. He was teaching her what to do. That's where it happened.
Yeah. Not very long, actually. Is there another one of it just of that? Brad and Frank, no. No. Can't find it. Might just have to go from that other one, I think. Yeah, okay.
So Craig, this footage shows that her hands were resting on the set and you crouched down next to her, not in front of her. It certainly looks like it could have happened there though.
You could look at that footage and think, gosh, that could be quite damning. If that footage was in fact from the show.
That is correct. This vision was shot for a TV commercial. It had no resemblance to the actual show itself, and yet the ABC and Fairfax used that as an example of the moment the assault happened.
I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey. It's just a jump to the left.
The world's favourite rock and roll musical is back, The Rocky Horror Show. It's a guaranteed party. Starring Craig McLachlan as Frankenfurter. Let's do the time warp again.
So they didn't even bother to check what the actual show was and how it ran, and neither did the police, it seems.
No. And of course, with that snippet of the television commercial, deliberately playing it at slow motion at however many frames a second to try and make it look as if I had the time to do something untoward. It's just wicked.
When was that footage shot?
That footage was shot actually at the commencement of the tour in Brisbane. So that's January 2014. And as I say, staged specifically for a television commercial.
And none of these directions are in the actual show itself?
No.
So the Rocky Horror Show production had played in London before coming to Australia, same director, same choreographer, is that right?
That's right.
So you'd assume that the direction was exactly the same?
Well, look, it would be easy to make that conclusion.
Some shows vary from show to show.
Well, the bottom line is, the costumes are the same, we're going to be singing the same songs, but the director, certainly in this instance, very much wanted to give it a fresh lick of paint, as it were. So in the rehearsal room, big choreographed numbers would remain the same, but the playing of the scenes, it became a new show.
Yeah.
And that included, of course, the workshopping of all of the dialogue scenes, including the bed scene.
Let's go to the UK production and have a look at the scene in question.
I'm afraid so, Janet. But wasn't it nice?
Oh, you beast! You monster! What have you done with Brad?
Nothing. Why? Do you think I should?
Oh, you tricked me. I wouldn't have. I've never.
I know, but it wasn't all bad, was it? Not really even half bad. In fact, I think perhaps you found it quite pleasurable. Oh, so soft, so sensual.
Oh, No! Stop. I mean, help. Brad. Oh, Brad!
Shh. Brad is probably asleep by now. Do you want him to see you like this?
Like this? Like how? It's your fault. You're to blame. I was saving myself.
Well, I'm sure you're not spent yet. And it was an enjoyable experience, was it not? Ooh, you did like it, didn't you? There's no crime in giving yourself over to pleasure, is there? We could try for an action replay. Oh, Janet, you've wasted so much time already. Brad needn't know. I won't tell him.
Are you sure you won't tell him? Yes!
Pretty graphic stuff right there if you look at it. Janet's hands are directed to rest on the sheet. Frank crouches down and feeling her breasts, etc. And that looks pretty bad.
Well, again, if you put a morbid construct on that scene and you're not looking at that scene in context of that British production, yeah, it looks bad. If that fella playing Frankenfurter had been accused of being inappropriate, then you would look at that and go, goodness me, because no one will stop to think that's been rehearsed 1,000 times with the actress being perfectly okay with that. In my case, I didn't want to do the scene like that.
So let's have a look at the Australian version. So there doesn't seem to be any moment where you were directed to kiss her neck and you only kissed the back of her arm and the top of her shoulder. And that was verified by all sorts of witnesses, including the directors and the production team and choreographer.
That's right. But it plays very differently physically to how that clip we saw from the British production plays.
And in that footage there doesn't seem to be a part of the scene where her hands are directed to sit on the set.
No, interesting that.
And there doesn't seem to be any part of the scene where you crouch down directly in front of her either.
No, that's right.
So all of her evidence doesn't even exist in the bed scene of your production.
That's absolutely correct.
But it does in the UK version.
As we see in the UK clip, yes.
So do you think that these women referenced the UK production to remind themselves how the scene played out?
Well, it's hard not to come to that conclusion, isn't it?
The scenes are in the movie, or I'm sure, like, if you, like, to get a gist of it, they're on YouTube. There's, like, the UK production actually did a filming production of it, and it's on YouTube. So you can, and it's exactly the same direction as our show.
We'll have to watch that.
Or C1 gave all this evidence, seemingly not aware that the UK clip was nothing like her account of the Australian production. And it seems that she couldn't recall anything, not even a line from the scene, nothing.
That's right.
After playing the role around 200 times, it seems a bit of a stretch.
Well, again, I can't mention the names of people who appeared in closed court, but was asked about the bed scene and the dialogue in the bed scene and couldn't recall a single line. Now, I don't know how many hundreds of times I've played it since 1992, but oh, Shantae, what charming underclothes you have. Put these surgical gowns on there, make you feel less vulnerable. Now, I don't know whether I just have a freakishly good memory, but you don't forget that stuff.
After your barrister had no luck getting answers, he decided to show her the archival footage of the show that was shot in Australia, footage that showed the scene with you and C1. What happened next?
Well, what happened next was an extraordinary change in story.
What was so important about that change?
Well, as you see from the archival video, the commencement of the scene, Janet turns and faces away from Frankenfurter with her left elbow over the bed covers. So there are no hands here, not facing here, not swatting me away. She's already turned. Elbow over the covers, she's facing away. She's got her back to Frankenfurter.
So she had her back to you. So hang on, she said after the line, so soft, so sensual, you would kiss her neck and arm and kiss her down to her breasts and stomach all the way. That would be impossible to touch her on those bits because she had her back to you.
Back to me, hands aren't here, elbows over the covers. Impossible. Even if you had the arms of a gibbon and the tongue of a giraffe. I mean, it is so deliberately ruinous. But again, if we think back to watching the English clip, that production, things start to fall into place. But an absolute impossibility.
So what happened next?
Well, she had to find another spot in the scene where Frankenfurter disappears from view of the audience.
But there was a problem with that too, wasn't there?
There was. The new nominated moment, Frankenfurter is 180 odd centimetres away. When he drops from view, he's at the far end, as far away, without falling out of the set, as far away as he can be, to allow for that crew member, so there are two crew, one to open up the curtain and one to pass a full-size adult prosthetic leg through. This is the new moment she's nominated. The point is, it's a change, it's a dramatic change of story. Again, impossible.
So how long were these moments out of sight for?
Oh my God. As long as it took her, and she couldn't recall this either conveniently, as long as it takes her to arc and keeping her hands, here's the interesting thing, you remember that the bed covers come up to here. Her hands are out of view of the audience, so her hands are basically, you could argue, around her hip or pubis, and she arcs this leg. The joke being, she and Frank are in the throes of something outrageous, and that's her leg. So as long as it takes to arc, 4 or 5 seconds, and then give it back to the crew member out of view of the audience. Impossible. And just, well, impossible.
So how'd she get away with this? How come no one reported on this?
I don't know. Well, I do know. I do know.
It wouldn't have been a good look for the Me Too movement, the police or press. But what about the crew guy? He wasn't even called by the police to give a statement. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
But there may have been someone who saw it all.
My name's Mark Lawrence and I was one of the crew members on stage that night.
Hidden from the audience, Mark Lawrence was one of 2 crew members who were there for every performance and just centimetres away from the complainant and Craig McLachlan.
Through the slits in the curtain we can see the position of their legs and which way they're facing.
As another stagehand passed a prosthetic limb to the complainants for one of the show's funniest sight gags, Mark Lawrence watched McLachlan.
From my point of view, where he was positioned at that particular time, he could not move across because at that time the prosthetic leg was being passed through and then passed back. So he was in that one position stuck in the corner, crouching down.
And you could see him there?
Yeah, when we parted the curtain, you could see him actually in that little position.
Were you ever approached by authorities or the police to tell your story?
No, not once.
What's worse is that she told police and the media that you'd been talking about seeing her underpants and saying you could see her bits.
Well, as was revealed in court, this was an ongoing jokey bit of dialogue where she would ask cast members if you could see her and insert any word you want to here. Can you see my bits? So there were jokes back and forth about, well, only a little bit, or whatever the return gag was.
Yeah.
This was, and you know, witnesses admitted to hearing this joke routinely, but any kind of notion that because this banter, and that's all it was going on prior to the scene, and therefore, you know, again, you've got to understand that this whole story began with the notion that it happened backstage while we're all standing around cracking gags.
And the strange thing about that is the fact that, you know, she was actually the one that started the whole thing, that she used to come in and say, you know, could you see her knickers?
Yes, going back to the top of the tour back in Brisbane, coming into the dressing room, I know Vanessa was with me this night. She came in and very comically, in white knickers and a bra, said, hey, can you see whatever?
Yeah.
And this became, as we heard from witnesses in court, this became regular banter to suggest that motivated by said jokey banter that I went on to touch her is, it's an awful, awful thing to suggest.
And there was a witness in court saying that C1 asked them as well if they could see through her pants. I want to take you to an audio recording that shows a very different account, though.
Say when we come off, I could see it. I could see that little slit. I could see it.
Oh.
And
What
then
did he say to that?
I mean, it was all just sort of eye rolls and you're fucked and, you know, but it was all like...
Sort of friendly.
Yeah, but like...
You have to get on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one night he drew the slit, as he called it, with his finger, as in to say, there I can see. And I smacked his hand away. And when my understudy would go on, he would...
So hold on, is this, when he said I can see this, is this off stage later? Yeah, right.
So in this audio, her first interview with the media, she doesn't even say there was an assault.
That's right.
She even says that this reference to seeing it was drawn, in the air, I take it. And then she says you had said this to her off stage, that both the drawing comment and smack to the hand was off stage.
That's right.
That's completely opposite to what she ended up claiming to the media and the police, wasn't it?
Yes, and obviously there are so many elements to this whole affair. But to think that it started with a joke, not on stage, she's asked, sorry, where did this happen, this drawing and slapping and eye rolling and laughing? Did that happen on stage? She makes it very clear that it happened backstage. How did it become? And why is the bigger question. Why did it become suddenly a physical moment when Frank is conveniently out of view of the audience? Because remember, backstage, there's crew everywhere. That fella with the prosthetic leg, he would have been there.
In the interview, she said you drew it, I assume, in the air, and she smacked your hand away, but it was off stage. There was no mention of a touch to the vagina, no mention of assault.
No.
And the journalist didn't even respond with any shock, and that could be related to an assault. Just, oh God, isn't that awful? They didn't say, oh my God, he touched you on the vagina.
No.
It wasn't until her second interview a week later that suddenly it became that you traced that it was a touch to her vagina, and that it was on stage. And before we get to the magistrate's rulings, let's sum it up. Her back is facing you. Kissing down breasts and stomach is impossible, let alone touching her vagina. She was operating a prop leg with both hands, and there was a crew member in the set who gave an interview saying no such thing ever happened. And did she ever make a complaint?
The short answer, no.
Would you actually expect her to make a complaint?
She made a formal complaint about a kid who jumped out from behind a piece of scenery and scared her. So I would think if a cast mate deliberately touched her at the top of her labia, you bet she'd make a complaint. But knowing her, she would have responded with a quick flick to my nether regions and some sort of joke.
This next bit of the story is even more disturbing, if that's possible. In the magistrate's ruling, which was not guilty, she ruled that the more favourable inference is the one I am required to draw at law, that upon becoming aware that she did not want him to touch her, he stopped, i.e., he did not touch her while being aware that she was not consenting. So basically, she ignored all your evidence, the archival footage and C1's evidence, ever-changing evidence.
It's concerning, isn't it?
It's concerning to a lot of people that could be put in this position. And then she went on to say that C1 was uncertain as to the precise moment the touching had occurred, but after being shown a video of the scene, she thought it was where the prosthetic leg was lifted up and he went down in front of her. But there's a story to this, isn't there? What happened in court on the final day when the prosecutor gave his final address?
Well, I think I know what you're referring to. On that last day, the prosecutor's making his case, and in reference to this, actually says, can you believe this? Actually says that, bearing in mind, we've spoken about the fact that C1 couldn't recall anything. C1 has to see the archival footage and then realises, shit, it can't have happened where I've said it happened. I have to find a new spot. So she chooses that prosthetic leg moment. The prosecutor comes out and says that my barrister, I'm laughing, but it's not funny, that the evidence of the prosthetic leg moment and all to do with this, all the evidence to do with that scene and changes of story and all the rest, shouldn't be allowed. Shouldn't be allowed because my barrister was pressing her for an answer, pressing her to determine where this touch could have happened.
And the magistrate weighed in, didn't she?
Oh, she did indeed. She seemingly rejoiced in the prosecution's assertion that we shouldn't be able to use any of the change of story and so on. It was at that point, and I just remind you that COVID's happening, things are happening around the country remotely. We're in chambers in one part of the country, she's in another part of the country. Vanessa is out of shot of the court cam, poking our QC, Mr. Littlemore, calling bullshit, calling BS quite rightly. And a recess, as I recall, was taken. And then we returned.
And when you get back from the break, your barrister read the transcript take from C1's evidence. And it turned out that after she was shown the archival footage, as you said, she said that it did remind her of the scene, that she nominated the second time you crouched down out of sight whilst she was operating the prop leg, and that she was asked if there was any other point at which it could have happened. She said no.
That's right.
Quite a turnaround. That seemed different to what the magistrate described, isn't it? Isn't that the barrister's job to cross-examine someone?
Yes, that's what you would reasonably think.
And C1 wasn't forced to nominate a place where the assault occurred. How could this be considered pressing or pushing someone?
That's a great question, and any reasonable person listening to us chat today would arrive at that same conclusion.
But the magistrate said that C1 was uncertain. This doesn't sound uncertain to me. But then after that, the prosecutor tried to say that it could have happened at another point of the scene, one that hadn't been mentioned. It's almost like they knew they'd fucked it up and they wouldn't be able to get you. So this was like a last-ditch Hail Mary effort to try and sway the magistrate.
That's right, and I hear the disbelief in your voice, Michael, as you read through some of this material. You can imagine the disbelief for me hearing the prosecutor try and find, and we've all seen the scene now, try and find another moment where it could have happened. It was desperate.
I think of the phrase Rafferty's rules. So this charge, you were found not guilty, but the way the magistrate ruled was shocking.
To say the least.
It's not right.
Not by a long shot.